the struggle trying to gain, 'cause I have a greater mission. I hope that you listen.
What's going on, everybody? Deacon here. And when I started my channel 6 years ago, I started with a channel trailer. And in that trailer, there was one specific thing that I said that I wanted to share today. And that was, when it comes down to something such as parenting, no matter how many books you read or no matter what anyone tells you, it still comes down to trial and error, because there's no concrete way to parenting. I mean, they've written books on it, but until you actually become a parent and start going through it, it's a whole different ball game. Which I also still believe is true even today, 6 years later. But when it comes to parenting, I always sit back and I reflect and think to myself, like, are there certain things from my upbringing and things that I went through that I'm projecting onto my children? Case in point, for those who may or may not know, I grew up in a single parent household while I was raised by my father. So it was only males in the house, me, my dad, and my brother. And what I realized is one of the stigmas I hear that they talk about how, young boys and males don't know how to express themselves or express their emotions because you're taught not to do so, because it's a sign of weakness. But I found out for me, it was the complete opposite. In my household, my dad allowed us to express how we felt. You just had to make sure you didn't do nothing crazy behind those actions when you express how you felt. For example, I remember one time my dad was sitting on the couch and, he's a smoker. So he was probably about to start smoking the second or third cigarette watching Independence Day. And I said something about it. I said, goodness gracious, isn't that like your second or third cigarette? And he was like, you know what? I hope aliens come down here and blow all this stuff up so nobody's worried about what I'm doing. And of course, me being a young teenager, I said, I hope they do as well. So then that way I don't have to worry about getting cancer from secondhand smoke, because that was the wave and the message at the time. And that was the end of it. I went on about my business. I didn't get in trouble or disciplined or anything like that. It was just, I said what I said, he said what he said, and that was it, because I knew there was a line. And I knew that the line was, I'm not going to go up to him and snatch the cigarette out of his mouth or throw his cigarettes in the trash. But still, I was allowed to express myself. Then another thing got me thinking about my upbringing is I know how sometimes parents can be over dramatic about certain things. And it made me think, am I over dramatic about certain things when it comes to my children? Because my dad wasn't, but there were certain scenarios where he might be. For example, when it came to taking out the trash. Boy, you didn't take the trash out. What are you gonna wait till after I'm dead before you start taking it out? And I'm thinking to myself, like, he ain't have to go to that extreme. But I'll admit, it got his message across. From that moment forward, whenever the trash got full, I took the trash out and it was taken care of. But with all that being said, I want to share with you all what even got me to making this video in the first place. And it's when I saw this on Twitter, where a video of a dad talking about to other parents that when your children are playing online games, remember it's online, they're in the middle of a game, they can't pause it. So whatever task you have for them to do, wait till they finish. And then once they finish their online game, then, have them do whatever it is they need to do. And what was interesting to me was the responses on Twitter opposed to the responses I seen on YouTube. The responses on Twitter, a lot of people were sharing certain things that showed that maybe both they and their parents need to go to counseling, which I'm not shaming, by the way. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because some people do need to find healing and find certain things to deal with their trauma. But I'm like, goodness gracious. The other thing I noticed is you also saw comments from teenagers dealing with those parents or young adults who have yet to have children. Because I know, as much as it was irritating for me to hear it when I was younger, for parents to say, well, I can't wait till you have children, or wait till you have your own children. Well, now that I'm on that other side of the coin, I have a much better understanding. But it still shows that my approach is still a little bit different from some of the things that I experienced when growing up and things that I wanted to share. Because with that other side of the coin, being a parent, most of the YouTube responses were, if this was a situation where the child or the young adult knew that they had a chore or a task that they need to take care of, why not do that first instead of going ahead and doing what you need to do to relax, and then have a parent yelling at you and screaming at you for something that they may have already told you that you were responsible for doing 2 or 3 times before, prior to you doing whatever you need to do to relax. So I could see both arguments, and with people who know me, I always try to look at both sides of the story. But it made me think too, well, how do I personally fit in this situation? And I'm one of those parents that I teach my children that you do what you need to do so then you can do what you want to do. But I don't just teach them that just because I'm trying to prepare them for adulthood, but I tell them that because as an adult, it's something that I myself apply as well. So even though it may be something I may be projecting or pushing onto my children, it will help them out in the long run. I think about when I went to college, there was a time I wanted to drop out, but I said to myself, since I'm in a situation where I can do it and get it out the way now, it's better to finish it now, so then I don't have to worry about trying to do it later. That doesn't mean I still can't go back and even further my education even further and go beyond where I stopped. But it's to say, but at least I got this accomplished and this done, and it helped me out when it comes to going for certain jobs, being able to negotiate my salary, seeing that on there, and it just helps. So it encourages and it pushes me to tell my children to do the same thing. And plus, knowing your parents. Now, even though I'm the more calm, chill, laid back parent, still it teaches my children, like, if you know you're going to get a certain reaction out of your parent, but it's not verbally or physically abusive, but it could just be more so annoying, just go ahead and knock it out and take care of it, because then when it's time for you to chill, it's time for you to relax. You ain't got nothing to worry about, because what was asked of you was already done. And then if knowing you were on top of these things, then it lets me know, okay, they're in the middle of doing this, I can wait, or I can just pop in and just be like, hey, I need you to take care of this for me right quick, but after you finish, go ahead and knock it out. So it showed me the relationship between the parent and child is important, but it does let me know too with parents and certain things you went through that just because it worked on you, you might not necessarily always want to do the same thing towards your children. With that being said, I'm always making sure, not only with my reflection, but I'm making sure I'm taking care of my mental health as well, because I know that if I'm doing well and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and making sure, you know, I'm practicing things that keep my mind straight and keep my mind focused, that I can be just as effective when it comes to helping raise my children, bringing them up and showing them what they need to do. Because even though I do know that experience is the best teacher, they don't always have to personally experience everything to learn from it. However, there are certain things that they will have to go through, and there's only but so much I can tell them. But I want to teach them so much about accountability, because that's something I myself practice. Now, it took me quite some time to get there and to understand the importance of accountability. But once I got to that level, I'm like, I'm going to embrace it. For example, once again in school, I used to hear people talk about how a teacher gave them a particular grade. Now, there were some cases where the student had the paperwork and the receipts to prove that the teacher was in error. But most of the time, you got the grade that you deserved. Same way how they were worded that if they got an A or a B in the class, they would say, well, I earned that A, I earned that B. But when it was something negative, they'll blame it on somebody else. Try to teach my children accountability the same way I had to take it. If I got a D in that class, it's because I earned that grade. I didn't do what I needed to do to get to it, because in most cases, that was it. But when I earned A's or B's in specific classes, whether it be English or psychology or social studies or something like that, I earned it because I put in the work to get it. Same way applies here. So these are things I do pass on and I project to my children, because these are things that got me to where I wanted to be, to provide the lifestyle that I wanted, and I don't apologize for it because I put in the work to get it. Now, I know that certain situations you'll need to be able to network and to be able to get yourself in certain situations, but one great saying I heard from an older gentleman years ago was preparation before participation. So when the opportunity presents itself, you will be prepared. But that's it. You know, from one parent to many others, or if you ever want to have children, whatever the case may be, know that parenting is on-the-job training that never ends, no matter how much older they get. Some parents who are past the phase that I'm in can tell you, I'm in the teenage phase right now. I haven't gotten to the dating phase yet, but I'm prepared for it, I think. Yes, continue to just make sure that you're guarding your mental health. You're doing what you need to do. Don't be afraid to seek creative ways to do what you need to do to help raise productive human beings in this world. But know you are raising human beings. You're not raising just little people that, if you want to be lazy and tell your kid to go get the remote just because your parents did that to you, it's like, come on. It is funny, but come on. But anyway, that's all I have for you all. Feel free to leave whatever comments you have in the comment section below. And as always, be wise. And until I see you all next time, have a great day.